Hi YouTube, Timothy Unkert here. In this video we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing fractions, looking at a few examples. First though, let's cover the steps for multiplying fractions. So step 1, multiply the numerators across. Step 2, multiply the denominators across. And 3, you want to simplify as necessary. Now you also want to note that some simplification could be done before the multiplication. So let's take a look at a few examples and see how this works. All right, so in example 1, we have the fraction 1/2 times the fraction 3/4. You'll see here this mid dot in the center. That indicates multiplication. So we're going to start off with step 1, multiplying the numerators across. We're going to do 1 times 3. And anything times 1 is itself, so 3 times 1 or 1 times 3 is 3. And then we're going to multiply the denominators across. So 2 times 4 is 8. Now we have an odd number on top that's 3, so it's only divisible by 1 and 3. And then on the bottom we have an even number. So we really can't simplify this any further, so in this particular case 3/8 is our answer to example 1. All right, in our next example we have the fraction 5/6 times the fraction 7/8, and we have this mid dot here that indicates the multiplication. So we're going to do the numerators first. We'll do 5 times 7. So 5 times 7 is 35. And then on the bottom, we'll do 6 times 8, which is 48. Okay, so we look at the top, and we want to see if we can simplify this any bit. So 35, if I list the factors of 35, there are 1 and 35, and then 5 and 7. If I list the factors of 48, they are 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, let's see, 4 and 12, and 6 and 8. So we want to see if we have any common factors between these two that we can divide out. Well, we do have 1, but if we divide these both by 1, we still get 35 over 48. So we want to look for something, a common factor that's greater than 1. And if we look, we don't have any, so we can't simplify that any further. So 35/48 is our solution to example 2. Okay, in example 3, we have the fraction 4/9 times the fraction 3/4. Now I'm going to go through this problem in two different ways. One with just simplifying after, so we're going to multiply the numerators and denominators and then simplify. And then I'm going to show you the second method, which I would recommend. It makes it a little bit easier, is simplifying before. Okay, so first off, we're going to do 4 times 3. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Then we're going to multiply the denominators. 9 times 4, that's 36. Okay, so let's list the factors of 12. So those are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Okay, let's list the factors now of 36. So that's 1 and 36, 2 and 18, and 3 and 12, and we could also do 4 and 9. Okay, so I see some common factors here. I see 12 is a common factor between the two. 4 is a common factor between the two. 3 is a common factor between the two. And actually, you could also do 6 times 6. So 6 is a common factor between the two. 2 is a common factor. And 1 is also a common factor. Now we want to take the greatest common factor between the two, which is 12, and divide both the top and the bottom by 12. So let's divide both the top and the bottom by 12. Well, 12 divided by 12 is just 1. And we see that 36 divided by 12 would be 3. So we can simplify this to 1/3. Okay, so that's one way to approach the problem. But we could also simplify before. So we could do 4/9 times 3/9, or 3/4 rather. And if I look here, if I look diagonally as we multiply, so the numerator of this one, the denominator of this one, I see they're both divisible by 4. So if I divide this by 4, I get 1. If I divide this by 4, I also get 1. And then on the bottom here, let me change the color here so you can see a little bit better. We have 3 and 9 are both divisible by 3. So if I divide 3 by 3, I get 1. And if I divide 9 by 3, I get 3. Okay? So now that we've simplified, before we've multiplied, we'll just multiply across. We do 1 times 1, which is 1, and then 3 times 1, which is 3. And we get the same solution. Now, I would argue that the second method here is a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, but again, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. Okay, so that's example 3. Okay, now let's talk about dividing fractions. So dividing fractions is pretty much the same as multiplying after we do this first step. So we have to multiply the dividend by the reciprocal of the divisor. So we take the divisor and we make the numerator the divisor, the denominator, and the denominator the numerator. We flip the top and the bottom of the fraction. And then we multiply across. Okay, so let's take a look at a few examples and see how this works. Okay, so in our first example of dividing fractions, we have 1/2 divided by 3/4. So 1/2, that's going to be your dividend. So that's the dividend. Okay, and then 3/4 here, that is the divisor. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to change this to a multiplication problem, and we want to flip the top and the bottom of the divisor. So we want to change this to 1/2 times 4/3. Okay, and as we do this, we notice that both 2 and 4 are divisible by 2. So if I divide 2 by 2, I can get 1. And if I divide 4 by 2, I can get 2. Okay, so now we can simplify it a little bit before we multiply across. So we're going to do 1 times 2 is 2. And then 1 times 3 is 3. So our solution, 1/2 divided by 3/4, is 2/3. Okay, in our second example, we have the fraction 5/6, and we're dividing that by the fraction 7/8. Okay, so 7/8 is our divisor, 5/6 is our dividend, so we want to take this 7/8 right here, and we want to flip it upside down, and then change it to a multiplication problem. So let's do that. So we're going to get 5/6 times 8/7. Okay, and I can simplify this before we multiply across. So if I look here, I see that 6 and 8 are both divisible by 2. So 6 divided by 2 will be 3. 8 divided by 2 will be 4. So now we can multiply across. We can do 5 times 4, which is 20, over 3 times 7, which is 21. And so our solution to 5/6 divided by 7/8 is 20/21, or 20/21. 20 over 21. Okay. All right, this will be the last example for this video. So we're going to divide the fraction 4/9 by the fraction 3/4. So we're going to take 3/4 here, and we're going to flip that, make this a multiplication problem. So we're going to do 4/9 times 4/3. Okay, and if we look, we really cannot simplify any of these. They don't have any other common factor outside of 1. So we're just going to multiply across. And we're going to do 4 times 4, which is 16, over 9 times 3, which is 27. And because we tried to simplify before we multiplied and we weren't able to do so, this is going to be as simplified as we can get. So our solution is 16 over 27 for this particular problem. Hopefully this helped you out. This video I hope this helped you with multiplying and dividing fractions. If it did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching.